Hey guys, it's Blockchain Brad, and today we have a very, very special guest. It is none other than Catherine, who is the CEO of THEKEY. She has a great deal of experience in business, so let's go through a few of her credentials in a moment. But firstly, thank you so much, Catherine, for joining the channel today. You are very welcome.
Hi, very nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you too. So, just for some background, guys, Catherine's quite an amazing woman. She's actually won the China's Businesswoman of the Year for 2017, which is incredible because of the number of people in China. But also, she's the chairwoman and the CEO and founder of THEKEY, which is the BDMI International Foundation Limited that relates to Singapore. She's also been the CEO of the Evernet Healthcare Technology in Beijing. She's been the senior manager of the IMS Healthcare Service in China, and also impressively, she's been a physician in Beijing at a very important hospital. So, thank you so much, Catherine. You've had a lot of experience, and we're really excited to have you and explain what THEKEY is. So let's get started with the first question.
Okay.
The slogan about THEKEY we see on the website is about unlocking the future. And we see also on the website that THEKEY is a decentralized ecosystem of an identity verification tool. And it's all about using big data and blockchain. Now, that's a really big mouthful for a title. So could you do us a favor and just explain simply what is THEKEY about?
Okay. So first of all, thank you for your introduction, and it's my pleasure to be here to introduce the THEKEY project to the audience. I don't know who will the audience will be, but probably it's a good chance to introduce our project to the world.
Absolutely. One of the things that is very true, Catherine, is that many people don't know about THEKEY. So we're so honoured that you can bring this to the West and bring this to the global platform. So go ahead.
Yeah.
So what is THEKEY?
Well, the THEKEY project is now developing a second generation online identity verification technology known as the BDMI, which stands for the blockchain-based dynamic multi-dimension identification technology.
Wow.
By way of the background, the first one is the real world IDV is needed in every aspect of life. And the second is that in the digital world, there is no IDV, there is no trust.
No trust.
If there is no IDV, there is no trust, right?
Right.
And third is that at present, there is no existing IDV tool which is able to generate undeniable IDV results.
Okay. So that's
So
a key
now,
word, the undeniable and unalterable. I noticed that there are two
yeah,
words in your work paper. They're important.
yeah. And now that the key is developing a second generation online technology, IDV technology, which is able to generate a non-deniable IDV result.
Wow.
Because IDV is so fundamental to the digital world, to the blockchain technology, as well as to distributed trust. So we call ourselves as the key.
I see. And we're going to talk about that relationship with another entity called ontology later. But what is interesting about what you said is the word trust. Why is trust so important for the blockchain?
Not only for the blockchain, it's for the internet.
Right.
Because we want to move our offline activity, all of our offline activity to the internet, to
Okay.
migrate ourselves to the internet. But
Wow.
right now, on the internet, we only can do some application which is with the light IDV.
Okay.
But for those require the heavy IDV, the application cannot be completed on the internet. That's why before migrating to the internet, we have to bring the real identity to the internet also.
Okay. So given the scope of the internet, That's a very big project that you're achieving, and not many companies, I assume, would be doing this kind of very ambitious project, because you're utilizing an internet that is global. So would you argue, Catherine, that you're the first to do something this big and this ambitious?
Yeah, it is ambitious because right now we have seen a lot of IDV products which are not using the big data, especially using the government data.
Right, and that's a really key
That's very
word.
challenging, yeah, to
Wow.
persuade the government to release personal related ID data to serve better for the individuals, for the outside companies. It's very challenging.
And even though we're digressing slightly, how did you achieve that? That's an incredible achievement that you were managed to persuade governments in the Asian area, in the Asian belt of the world, to take on the key and to accept it as a possible utility for their countries. That's an amazing achievement.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have to consult a lot? And did you have to really work hard to establish those relationships with those different governments?
Because right now we actually during these 2 years we have established a very close relationship with government. On one hand, we serve the individuals for the government to move all their official activities to the internet, and at the same time, so we have the foundation of the connection to the data, the individual individual ID related data, and later on, it gave us the chance to do the IDV service for the individual itself to serve it better in the society, not in the government field.
That's amazing. So I guess we could move on from that question since you've clarified that. So the key is developing a second generation identification verification system, the IDV, solution via something that you mentioned called the BDMI, MD identity system, the BDMI. So what is the BDMI specifically? If you could explain that really simply, what is that part?
Yeah, as indicated in our white paper, BDMI equals to DMI plus blockchain. So to generate an undeniable IDV results, we need technology called dynamic multidimensional identification. So in our DMI, we have 3 elements. The first one is we use unique biometric data serve as the base of BDMI.
Okay.
And the second, and the second is that the key data of BDMI we used, including biometric data and all other data, are all validated in advance by the relevant government authorities.
Wow. So that's, again, showing that connection with the authorities, showing the connection with the government. Again, that's a very powerful thing.
Yeah. And the third one is the data of BDMI used for IDV are comprehensive enough so that it can meet the different requirements of various clients.
Wow.
Yeah, and the fourth one is that to ensure the reliability of BDMI, cross-checking is always carried out.
I see.
So, during the IDV between the government validated data and some other behavior and scene data as well.
Wow.
Of the same user.
So it's quite involved. The process is quite extensive.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Not actually expensive. I will explain later. Actually, we have lower cost.
Oh, sorry. My apologies, Catherine. I actually meant it's quite extensive. It's quite involved. The process.
Extensive. Yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah.
And that is the fourth one. And the fifth one is that to ensure the solidity of BDMI, so we always use the data which are updated to the moment when the IDV is executed to capture the latest change.
I see.
And the sixth, the last one is that once an IDV is completed, the result will be properly documented for audit,
Okay.
so that personal credit of the user can be evaluated and calculated.
Okay, and we're going to talk about the value of that credit, that social credit for the user, because that's going to be very important for certain governments, and particularly in China, which we'll move to. But if we go across to the next question, with regard to the IDV technology, knowing that it's one of the most significant trends right now through your research, and that it's had a critical impact on the digital economy, can you explain how that's had a critical impact in China? Because you've done a fair bit of work in China specifically. How has that IDV had a really big impact, particularly in the studies and the research you've done in the trials?
In so you mean that currently there is a government project known as the social credit?
Well, that's true. Well, we're going to talk
Mm-hmm.
about the social credit system later, so I'm glad you've mentioned that. But just generally, with regard to the IDV tech, it's one of the most significant things that's happened at the moment with your research. And it's had a really big impact, as it explains in your white paper, with the digital economy. So if we talk about the digital economy of China as it's evolving, what is the potential of IDV in the area you focused on most, which is China, given that you've done trials as well? How can IDV really have a big impact? How can it help?
I think in the new system, the digital economy has three elements, right?
Yes.
One is the smart contract, one is the digital asset, and another is the digital identity.
That's
so
right.
Without the digital identity, the smart contract can be deniable. So that is very important.
Okay, can you explain that, what you mean by that?
The smart contract?
Yes, can you explain about the deniability and why that aspect's important, what you were saying, how it can be deniable? What do you mean by that?
So let me give you an example. So we have the ID in our smartphone, right?
Right.
But right now, let's say, I forgot my cell phone. Can I use yours? So you give your phone to me, but actually that is not your behavior.
No.
So that is deniable.
I see.
Right? Yeah.
Okay. And so in that respect, you were talking about your research has allowed it to be undeniable and to be unalterable. So why is that undeniability so important?
Undeniable?
Yeah, why is that so important, given that deniability is an issue that has been raised, and in your white paper, undeniability is the value point. Why is the undeniable so important?
Because there are a lot of applications that requires very heavy identity.
Okay.
Like something related with law,
Okay.
with finance, yeah. And we have to identify you are you,
Right.
but you are not anybody else to do that transaction, to take that responsibility of the law.
I see. And that's what your technology is focused on, is making
yes,
that happen.
Yeah.
I see. That's interesting. So up until now, Catherine, do you know of any technologies that have done that? Because you were saying before, from my understanding, is that yes, there are other technologies that were similar by structure, but they didn't address the undeniability. So are you a world leader in the undeniable approach? Given that you are trying to address the undeniable and the unalterable, are you the world leader in this?
Yeah, just I have said we have three elements. We have 6 elements. We use the biometric data, and we use the government already verified data, and we cross-check the government data together with the behavior data and the scene data, and we do the audit later, and to make sure that the IDV is
Secure or
secure, yeah.
and it's verified.
Mm-hmm. So right now, the identity on the internet is flat. So you are represented by the serious number or the photo.
Okay.
But we want to create a totally live and three-dimensional of you.
That's amazing.
So you are then represented by your history.
Okay.
Yeah, not only the card, the information in the ID card.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get to some of those things later. That sounds very exciting and very organized. Let's talk about something that is quite an astounding achievement that your project has achieved already. So the IDV solution is being deployed currently in 41 cities, Catherine. That's amazing. And it's covering more than 130 million people in 66 cities. So those numbers alone, I just want to make sure that we're really clear. We're talking about 41 cities, 130 million people. That's astounding. So can you tell us how you did that and how you managed to achieve this remarkable, scope and breadth already?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Our first generation IDV products are now being deployed in forms of mobile social insurance pay in 41 cities, not 66, in 41 cities, covering 130 million people.
Sorry, my apologies. So, 41 cities. Yes.
Yeah, 41 cities. But the 66 cities is saying that the data, we have connected the identity data to 66 cities.
I see.
But the product has been deployed in 41 cities.
Well, it's remarkable, Catherine. As you know, I'm Australian. We don't even have that number of cities in our whole country. So it's amazing. Yes. It is truly amazing. And I think for the listeners, I mean, we're talking about many countries involved in this. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's amazing given that you haven't even had an ICO. You haven't even released a token yet. And already you're very well established.
Yes, and the government, you know why the reason, what is the reason the government supports us? The government supports us simply because they need our IDV technology for fraud control of their social insurance scheme.
Exactly.
So that is the major reason why the government supports us, not because we can do something magic or we have special relationship with the government, the Chinese government. Yes. But we did solve their problem.
Exactly. And also, I mean, given that the decentralized system is existent now, would you argue that it also is a case of efficiency for governments? It's a case of cost saving. Is that another reason, not just trust, but it's also designed to help the government save money?
That is only one aspect.
Right.
So on one hand, we focus on solving the problem with for the government, and on the other side, we want to use the data stored in the government and pull it out and give the control back to the owner, because we think that the first owner of the data is the individual and the second owner of the data is the government.
Absolutely.
Who has collected them.
And that's what makes you amazing, because typically it used to be the other way around. With the centralized model, much of the data is owned by government services.
Yes.
So you're empowering people through your technology.
Yeah. And nowadays, because the government has seen that we can serve the individual better and better to make their life more convenient by pulling out the data, so they trust us. They allow us to use the government data to better serve the society.
That's amazing. And if we could just talk about enterprise, because as you know, Catherine, often governments are linked with enterprise. Can enterprise use your facility as well? Is there anything with regard to the identity features of your technology that enterprise can utilize? Or is it mainly focused on government to user?
Actually, in the key ecosystem, we have three participants. One is the individual user, and another is the service provider, and another is the validator. So the key actually is one of the validators. Standing behind us is the government data we have connected.
Okay.
But the company, you just mentioned that the enterprise serves as the service provider, like the insurance company, like the banks, the hospitals, the drugstores, and they provide the service to the user,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
Yeah. Every time during the service, they have to get the personal ID data from somewhere.
And
But
Catherine,
now,
sorry, go ahead.
You go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, that's incredible, Catherine, what you're saying. Because for the listener who's trying to understand the key, what you're saying is essentially that these businesses, given that you were talking about insurance, you were talking about banks, talking about potentially really any major business and small business, that addresses pretty much all of the businesses that exist, that potentially could utilize this identity technology.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
So it's not just
That
governments.
No, of course not. The way the government use their data is within their own system.
Yes, in
they
a
have their
in a
own
closed way.
system.
In a very
Yeah.
Okay.
But right now, they release the personal related data to the outside to better serve the individual to the society.
Okay.
So we introduced the enterprises like the insurance company, and each time when they do the service for the individual, they have to do some IDV.
Right.
And they come to us, and I return back the IDV result.
Wow.
And they pay token to us.
Wow. So you potentially could be a very large business. Let's be real. To we unpack this into the real world for a real world context, you could be a very, very significant business.
Yes, of course. Because standing behind us, the population is so huge.
So, Catherine, would you argue that we're just at the beginning of what you
Sorry?
Would you argue that we are just at the beginning of what you can actually do? We're just at the forefront of the technology entering into the wider market. This is the beginning year. It's got a lot of potential.
So actually, the DMI in our DMI product, we already have banks, insurance companies, hospitals, and drugstores as the service provider, and they have already provided the service to the individuals, and they have already obtained the IDV service from us.
So the amazing thing, I think, Catherine, is that many of the projects I read about are just beginning. And you're saying that you already have this established. Why don't we know about you? Why doesn't the West know about you already? This is amazing. Truly, it's amazing because it's not even just in one city. We're talking about several cities. We're talking about countries. This is a lot of work you've achieved. How many years has it taken you to do that?
About two. Right now, until today, it's 3 years.
That's incredible. So it's a very long-term project.
Yes, of course. We have established the connection to the government data to 66 cities in about 3 years.
That's incredible. And again, that's a reach of 210 million people. So that's quite amazing. If we move across to the next question, Catherine, with regard to 3 statements, I think they're great in your white paper. They talk about the key being more reliable, talking about being lower cost, as we were talking about before, and better user experience. So why is that? Why are those features of the key, and how is that achieved?
Yeah. So first of all, I have great respect to other IDV providers like Civic, like Self-Key, but compared to other peers in the IDV industry, who are also applying IDV into a blockchain. So our BDMI has the following three advantages. One is more reliable results because the supporting data is gathered in real time, is comprehensive, accurate, and reliable. The data is also validated, is also already validated in advance by the government agencies and other public institutions. And the second advantage is lower cost. For use of existing data sources, it let us avoid to do the duplicate work for data collection, processing, and authentication. The third advantage is better user experience. It is even not necessary for individual users to install any application or upload any information. So just bring yourself,
Wow.
bring your fingerprint, your iris, your face.
So again, it's that body identification method, whether it be like you were saying, you can use eye technology or your face recognition, and you can also use fingerprint.
Yeah.
So that's all we need?
Yes. Let me explain it to you. So right now, other IDV product, you have to input your personal information into your phone.
Okay.
In application, and tell the phone that this is Catherine and this is my fingerprint.
Yes.
But that is very wrong at the beginning, because how do you know the fingerprint is Catherine's?
Exactly.
It may be yours.
That's right.
Yeah, and in case that the user lost, the phone is lost. So how about the identity? Then the identity is lost, right?
Right.
So in our case, we don't need to input any personal information into any application in the future.
That's
but
amazing.
Right now we are developing an application. But in the future, actually, so we don't have to even in our application. We don't even need you to input your own personal information. Just give me your ID number or your fingerprint. I will know who are you. I don't need you to tell me who are you.
That's
I already
amazing.
know who are you, because I have connected to the government data,
Wow.
which is updated, which is verified 7 by 4024.
Wow. So Catherine, given that it's so seamless and so easy, are you hoping to extend your relationship with more governments? And how far do you want to extend it? Are you hoping to go across the globe?
Globally?
Yes. Are you planning on going globally and not just in the Asian area?
Yeah. So right now we have a 5-year planning to expand our data connection within China.
Right.
So almost at the end of the 5th year, we are able to connect almost all cities in China. We hope.
And just for our listeners, Catherine, how many people is that?
It's 1.4 billion.
Wow. So 1,400 million, which is 1.4 billion. The largest population of any country in the world. Amazing. And you think by 2000, what year do you think you'll be able to achieve the full reach of China? What was the year you said? About 5 years?
Yeah. So right now, China, we have around 300 cities. So we have already connected 66. It's 1/5.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
The pace is very fast. So let's move across. I mean, we're moving across to this, I suppose, with this question, in that, do you need a big team to achieve this? Have you got a large team?
After the ISO is completed, we need actually several, teams, several types of experts.
Okay.
And the first one is to communicate, the person to communicate with the Chinese government to expand to more cities. And the second, that we want to involve more KOLs in the IDV industry.
Sure.
Yeah. And the third one, we actually need a PR team, a very professional PR team to help us to go outside, not even in Asia, but we hope, like just you said, to
Yes.
expand our business to Western.
Yes, and honestly, Catherine, that's exciting to hear because, once again, the scope and the achievements that you have already achieved is extraordinary. It's no wonder you are the businesswoman of 2017 in China, because what you've achieved is incredible. It really is. And I'm surprised, to be honest, that many people don't know about the key. But it's exciting that your plan for the future is going to involve the PR, because more people will become aware of just how important and how extensive your company is already in the Asian region. So it's an incredible achievement what you've done, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it grow. If we move across now to talk about a few of the technical things, we know that it's an ecosystem. So could you tell us a bit about how the smart contract works? And will there be businesses using the key in any way? Or how will that smart contract work on the key?
Well, I think smart contract is very important in our ecosystem. Uh, uh, on one hand, it helps the individual to make the biggest use of their own data. On the other hand, we have to protect the individual sensitive data for the individuals.
Okay.
Because when an individual comes to the service provider, the service provider will give a list of information which is needed for IDV and ask the user to give the authentication to them so that they can finish the IDV. But from the individual side, they don't know which set of data is the standard set of data for the service provider.
I see.
So under the smart contract, we set all rules in different industry for them to using the data for IDV.
That's interesting.
And yeah, and by using by this way, we will protect individuals' data for them.
Right, and Catherine, I wanted to ask you, as you mentioned before, companies like banks could essentially establish a smart contract. That's possible. Is it also possible that some of the companies that will use the key will also have their own tokens and their own system, or not? Is it likely that they will also run on a blockchain or run in some way where they'll be decentralized?
They have to be part of our ecosystem.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, to use our TKY. So when the person comes to the service provider, the individual pay TKY to the service provider for the service.
Yes.
And the service provider need to do the IDV, they come to us.
Sure.
And they pay part of the tokens that the individual has paid to them, to us, for the IDV service.
I see.
At the same time, when the IDV is completed, the individual site can keep that set of the data. But of course, that set of data is static, right?
Right.
But next time, when it happens that the next service provider, their IDV requirement, the previous static set of data is enough for the IDV of them.
Right.
So at that time, the service provider don't need to come to us. They just pay the token to the individual.
Okay.
To individuals. Then actually the individuals can earn money for selling their own data.
Okay, let's stop you there. That's very interesting. We always like to hear how people can earn money. So how does that work? How can a user get rewarded by selling their data. What's the benefit of that?
Just like the service provider, anyway, they have to get their IDV done, right? So they will either to the validator, one of the validators, and then if the user have the set of data which happens to meet their IDV requirements, and they can just pay the individual because that set of data is already in the blockchain and it is trustable.
Right. That
So,
makes
so yeah. So if the individual have their own data and they are not in the blockchain, so the service provider will not use them. They just come to us.
Okay.
But once the IDV is done by us, the data will be in the blockchain and it is trustable. And we give back the control of their own data to the individuals. So next time, if the same set of data can serve for the next IDV service, so just the individual just sell it.
That's amazing.
In this way, we give the control back to the individuals.
So really, you give an incentive of token rewards.
Yes.
That's very interesting. Oh, well, if we move across now to the benefits of the key in the real world. So that's so important right now in that you talked about how you've already established the key in many regions. So if you could just explain, what are some of the benefits in the real world? Knowing that we're in the real world now, what are some of the biggest benefits right now for the key?
So actually, every aspect of our life is in need of IDV. IDV based on BDMI technology. For example, the security check, the access permission, the medical treatment, and shopping, etc., etc. So the existence of the key ecosystem will make the internet and the real identity integrated together to facilitate your life. All the benefits you mentioned, like the fraud protection. So actually, every aspect of our life is in need of IDV, right?
Right.
Like even your go to the kindergarten to pick up your child, you have to prove you are you, right?
Right.
You enter the company, you have to. Even when I enter my company, I have to prove I am I.
Exactly.
And
and you make it so easy.
Yeah, and actually, I could show an example of a heavy IDV application, right? Like in the hospital.
Right.
When the patient go to the hospital, we have to do the heavy IDV verification for both sides.
Right.
Not just for the patient, but also for the doctor.
Yes.
So the doctor have to have the medical education background, the according practice.
Yes, and we're talking about checks as well. We're talking about checks so that both parties can receive treatment or provide the treatment. So it's a very full-on process. It's very detailed and very time-consuming.
Yes, but using our IDV, it's automatic.
Right.
And it's reliable.
So moving that into the real world, Catherine, that's fast. That's efficient.
Yes, sure, of course.
So surely many more companies like hospitals, like you were talking about, must be very interested around the world.
Yes, actually a lot of people have asked the question. So you have connected only to the government, the Chinese government data. So actually you can only provide service to the Chinese citizen. So that is the question they always ask me. Yeah, but just imagine how huge the Chinese population is.
Yes.
for the service provider, so right now we have the local companies, the insurance company, the banks or the hospital, but we can also invite foreign companies
Yes.
into our China market. So that will be very attractive for them.
Very much so, Catherine. And also, it's very clear that many Chinese companies that you work with, they have interest in many other countries as well. And so for that reason, already there's connections moving into the global space because they're
Yes,
aware of what you're doing for those companies and they're far reaching. So it's very exciting what you can achieve.
yes,
Have
yes.
you seen signs? I know that you've done some work outside of China as well, in Singapore, for example, and many other regions. Have you seen signs of significant growth outside of China, or at the very least, interest from other countries?
Yes, yes. So actually, we had already had a plan to expand globally. So maybe the first stop is Singapore, Hong Kong.
Sure.
Yeah, and later on maybe Europe, and later on. Well, actually, in January of our trip, we want to speak with the American government also.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
really exciting, Catherine, to hear that.
yeah.
So I guess, some of the areas, let's talk about industry because that's where we're leading. Some of the industries that you cover could be insurance, security, intellectual property, healthcare we've talked about, commercial and enterprise, we've done a lot on that, legal, political. So really there's no stone left unturned in terms of industry in what you could do. You could actually use this in every industry of, that operates.
Yes, yes.
That's amazing.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course, because the government data is not specific for a specific industry. To serve the individual, so pull the data out to serve the society, there are a lot of applications in different industries.
Yes. And
Yes,
you can provide services for all of them.
yes, yes.
Amazing.
And right now we are inviting all kinds of industries into our ecosystem. As well as foreign companies. I remember in November, IBM Watson Health has visited our company.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
They want to serve for Chinese people.
Wow, that's exciting.
But how? Yeah, but how? But we can build a bridge for their connection to approach to the Chinese people.
Wow, that's really exciting. And just on that basis, Catherine, I was reading about a project in China that was known as the social credit system. And I really wanted to talk to you about this because it was about trying to assess people on their credit value, on their social credit value. Do you know about that? And is it something that your company could facilitate as the Chinese government try to, I guess, score individuals according to their social behaviors?
Mm-hmm. So actually, you mentioned the social credit system. That there is a massive government project
Yes.
known as the social credit system, and it is led by the National Development and Reform Commission, which is called NDRC.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, but to my knowledge, this project has nothing to do with online identity verification.
I see.
And the second one, the project is still in call for bids stage. So
That's very interesting.
yeah, so actually our partner Eunice, together with us has submitted our technical and financial proposal together
That's
as a
very
team.
interesting.
Yeah. So, but right now we are not officially involved in the project yet, but because it's not started.
Right. And I'm so glad we're talking because I remember reading that thinking your company would do so well to support that idea and that plan. So thank you for clarifying that you have submitted an application.
Yes, yes, of course.
Because that makes a lot of sense to me. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, and this is very interesting, is that Sesame Credit, which is a financial wing of Alibaba, it has 400 million users right now, approximately,
Yes.
and it supports this idea of the credit system as well that you've applied to become part of and hopefully that has happened. But what I wanted to ask you was that given that Ant Financial, which is a leading fintech company in China, is part of the Alibaba group, do you think that there's potentially a clear connection between Alibaba and THEKEY in some way?
So right now, actually, if you look at our white paper, Alibaba is one of our partners.
Well, thank you, because
Just like we are also working with IBM.
okay, thank you, because I think your partner is Ant Financial, and often people think Ant Financial is directly Alibaba. Would that be fair to say? Is that correct?
So,
That your main partner is Ant Financial? I understand. In the white paper, it's a part of Alibaba. Is that right? It's Ant Financial?
it's part of Alibaba.
Yes, yeah. Thank you for clearing that up, because it's always interesting to see the name Alibaba come up in so many projects. They are a very powerful company. Very. So let's move across, I suppose, now to some of the extraordinary technological submissions and achievements you've made with regard to patents and copyrights.
Yes.
How many have you made, and how substantial is this for the future?
So actually we have obtained 23 copyrights and 15 patents, and they actually are the foundation of our BDMI technology. And we are currently applying more copyrights and patents on the BDMI and IDV related technology.
Wow, so Catherine,
to apply it globally.
So Catherine, that means that you're protecting your interests, and people can't replicate that easily in China once you do those patents?
No, of course not.
Because that's important, because I ask you this, because in the blockchain space, we're seeing many different blockchains emerge that are very similar in protocol design. What you're doing is protecting your interests, and you're protecting your technology, which makes you really interesting for the investor.
Yes. That is very high technical, because BDMI we call aside from blockchain, the DMI, we have had a lot of patents, like the data standardization, which is very important because we collect data from different sources.
Yes.
We have to do the data standardization.
Okay.
And especially for medical terms.
Okay.
So just like IBM Watson, if they want to give the service to each individual, so they have to first read the history, the medical history,
right.
medical record from each individual. But how we have to standardize the medical terms first.
Exactly.
And then they can serve the individuals.
Wow, that's interesting.
And now we actually are applying more copyrights and patents globally because our business will expand globally.
Well, moving to expansion, let's talk partnerships. I was very impressed in your white paper with the partnerships you already have. But let's talk 2018, Catherine. Are there plans for more?
Yeah, so actually, I think 2008 will be an important year of the key, and we will work with the world-leading firms in three parts as our partner, especially in the following three areas. One is the project management of the key. So we will work with the world-leading law firms. Like in the area of digital currency, to make sure that we always follow all the applicable laws.
I see.
And the second that we will also work with the world leading accounting firm.
Wow.
So to make sure that our financial system is managed in a highly transparent and professional way.
That's so interesting, because the reason why I ask is that I know of some companies now. One of them is called QRC, and compliance is very important to the blockchain also. So have you talked to companies like QRC to help you? Or do you have specific companies that you're dealing with compliance?
Uh, oh, so actually, right now we are uh, having some interviews with the accounting companies,
I see.
and we have to choose one,
Wow.
which one is right for us.
I
And
see.
also, yeah, and also we need to work with a world-leading PR team, the PR firm, like I just said, to make sure that our voice is heard by everybody uh, properly.
Absolutely. Thank you for clearing that
Yeah.
up.
Mhm.
I guess it leads. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and that is the first area. And the second area, I think we are going to work with the world leading KOL. One is industry KOLs to work with as to work with us as the team member on the product development. And the second is academic KOLs to work with us as advisors, like Stanford University.
Wow.
Yeah, and the third one that we are also going to work with partners
Wow.
on business development to explore the possibility of promoting our IDV service outside China.
So
So
marketing.
yeah, marketing.
I see. You are a very organized woman with your team because this is a very well thought out plan and you've thought about different facets of what is becoming a very polished diamond, and that is your company. Let's move across to Neo. You know I'm a bit of a fan of Neo. It's clear that you are utilizing the Neo service, but let's move across to ontology as part of the entity that is the network. It's interesting that you're talking so much about trust because ontology is a trust network. It is not a blockchain. Are you going to be using ontology in any way?
Well, actually, the key is a partner of the ontology network. That is why uh, Da Hongfei invited us to build on Neo. And ontology focus on cross-chain solution, but the key will focus on IDV
Yes.
and serve as the fundamental, the underlying layer of the ontology.
Right.
So we will together serve the same objective to develop bilateral or multilateral trust in the digital world.
Amazing. And what's interesting also, Catherine, is that Hongfei Da was also an investor, as I
Mhm.
understand, in your company. Is that right?
Yes, of course. They are our angel investor.
Wow. So he really believed in your company's plan.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I guess,
Uh-huh.
and speaking of Neo, the key is the underlying basis for future artificial intelligence projects. So I really wanted to
Mhm.
talk to you about that because Deep Brain is a very prominent uh, plan, or it's a project that's going to be on Neo. So is
Mhm.
there an interconnection at all with things like Deep Brain, or what's your plan with artificial intelligence?
We haven't had that discussion with Deep Brain because they are now also being with ICO,
Right.
but the key may provide IDV service to Deep Brain in the future.
That's
So
very exciting.
yes, of course. Like I said, it is a fundamental need, not even in new, but also in other public chains.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for making that clear. And we've talked about the roadmap. It's looking very good for 2018. I guess, Catherine, the last thing I wanted to ask you, and thank you so much for your time, is if we put you in a different hotel, because we know you're traveling right now, in the time of 2020, and it's anywhere in the world, you can be there, and you're thinking about all the things you've achieved, if it's 2020, what do you think? What would you imagine you've achieved by that time?
Well, that is in the future world. In the future world, I think everybody have migrated to the internet, right?
Right.
So right now I have a lot of cards in my bag, like the ID card
Sure.
or the card to the shopping card. But right now we all connect our card to the mobile phone,
Right.
right? So right now we only bring our phone because the phone works as our ID. So
Sure.
every information is stored in the phone, right?
Sure.
But that is not the future. In the future, we don't even have to bring the phone.
Wow.
So how about if the phone is lost? How about the phone is lost? So does that mean that our identity is lost? No, no. So actually, in the future, you don't have to even to bring the phone. You just bring yourself.
That's
Bring
amazing.
Yeah, and you go to the house, you go to the hospital, you go to the hotel for check-in, and as long as they have a device or equipment that can receive your biometric data, like the fingerprint or iris or face, so the hotel will know who are you.
That's incredible. Catherine, you've explained so much. You've explained things like you're currently focused on the Asian market, but there's clear indicators you're going to be much more global in the next few years. You've made it so clear also that it's not just governments that you're focused on. You're also making sure that you support business and you support enterprise and you fundamentally support the ease of transaction between user and the technology. It's an exciting time for you. I wish you all the very best, and I can't wait to follow you in your journey. Thank you so much for your time. Is there anything you wanted to add at all to just to finish off this very interesting interview?
Yeah. So first of all, I would thank you for giving me a chance and opportunity to be here to following your question to introduce our project
You're
to the
very
world.
welcome. It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
truly amazing.
I do hope we could have another chance if you still have some questions from other people
Sure.
who are so interested in our project.
Sure.
At this time, I wish you all a Merry Christmas.
Thank you very
And
much.
Happy New Year. And please also hold the key and join the key. I think the key is the project you can always trust and rely on.
What a great phrase to finish on, to always trust in the key.
Yes.
So Catherine, thank you for your time. You're a very interesting person, you're a very intellectual person, and you're leading something that's going to potentially change Asia and the world. So thank you once again on behalf of everyone who's been listening.
Thank you very much.